Yeah.
So these investors tossed in money, and I had like an income from investors for working on this invention of mine, which I called computer English. Okay? It also allows you to program in English instead of esoteric language. So everyone else was in and out working and great prosperity. And the life in the house was, I'd go over and program all day long from noon till about 8 at night, and then there'd be people grilling up steaks downstairs and playing the guitar and having a little smoke and so on. And they'd be singing, and it would go till 4 or 5 in the morning every night. People just hanging around, having a good time. And drawing and sketching and people sculpting. It was always going on. And then at 4 or 5 in the morning, we go down to Chinatown. Montreal is the latest living city in the world. People come and ring your doorbell 1 in the morning. Hi, just going by. You don't mind? No, come on in. People don't care what time they have to go to work in the morning. They're up all night. So we, the hippies, we were up till 5 in the morning. And then we jump in the car, 2 cars, go down to Chinatown, go in at 5. Hi, hello, happy to see you. At 5 a.m., right? And we'd sit around this big, huge table with a lazy Susan, and there'd be 7, 8 of us. It'd be like $1.25 a piece to eat like Oriental potentates, like kings. I mean, and then the sun would be coming up, so we go up. There's 2 mountains in Montreal. We go up one of the mountains, the bird sanctuary, and have a jay and watch the sun come up and commune with nature around 7 in the morning, and then go home. And everyone would go to bed, and no one would answer the bell till 2 in the afternoon. That's when the day started again. And the house was so big, you could bang on the front door with both fists. No one would hear you on the first floor. It was a fortress,
So then you got introduced to the skeety through John, or?
Yeah. So we had it out. After 2 happy years in Montreal, I found myself all alone in the big house because everyone had gone out to the West Coast. Right? And off I went. And I showed up at, my ex-girlfriend was living out there in a rooming house, so I moved in with her for a few days, and I saw an old friend from New Zealand was out there. I said, I gotta chill out, I need a cabin, I gotta get away from civilization, worn out. And he says, we'll ask John. John, there's a party at Beach 3 tonight. So here I am in Vancouver. I'd never heard of Stanley Park. It's like a primeval forest, before man came, right in the middle of the city with trees so tall you can't see the tops and so on. And so many beaches, they got the beaches numbered. So we get down to Beach 3, and there's logs as big as tank cars. I used to live by the tracks in Chicago. You know what a tank car looks like. These logs are like 3, 4 tank cars long, and as big as a tank car. You couldn't climb over them. You had to go around to get down the beach. And there's fires. People got fires going on the beach. I just came from out east. They put you in jail for starting a fire on a beach, right? You can't do that. Nobody cared in Vancouver. It was wonderful. So we saw John, met this handsome Canadian guy, and he said, oh yeah, you want to go to Long Beach, that's where you want to go, on Vancouver Island. You can hitchhike and get over there. See ya, and off he went. So the next morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, I hear bam, 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 bam on the door. They open the door, and there's this fella, John. And he's got a tent in his hand. He said, oh, good morning, you're going to need a tent. And he hands me a tent and disappears, right, like that. And leaves me with a tent. So this was the West Coast, People didn't say much, but they sure did a lot, you see.
Right.
And but of course I got out there with almost no dough, and so I went looking for work right away, of course. And everyone kept telling me, forget it, go back east, you won't get a job. Well, after a week of that, it was pretty discouraging. So we were all on a beach down in Kitsilano in Vancouver, and they were all running up and down and doing things, and I pulled out my writing pad and I wrote a story about how depressed the businessmen in Vancouver were, and that's what was wrong with the economy. They were in a big slump in '70, right? They said they're never in their office, you know, they're all so downtrodden and negative and so on. And I wrote this thing, and I took it into the newspaper, and they paid me $50 for it, right? So I was a journalist, or got started as a journalist. So a week went by, they didn't publish it, so I went back and they said, we decided not to publish it. So I went out the door with it in my hand, and there was another newspaper across the hall, the rival newspaper. So I went in and they gave me $50 for it, right? So, but they called me the next morning and said, we want you to come down here in your three-piece herringbone suit, right, your Wallach suit, right, and we want to get a picture of you, you know, looking for work.
You're kidding.
No, so I put on the suit and went down there, and they get me coming out of a door. Didn't I show you that paper, that picture?
No.
Oh, I should get it, or I'll cut it in when I make the movie. But yeah, they gave you a whole page, or half a page, or a page. Here I am striding out the door. I had a mustache and my briefcase and my three-piece suit and my Dior tie and so on. And and they got quite a few answers in the press the next day and so on. And then some little woman from Vancouver sent me $50 to help tide me over till I got a job. Now we're talking like 4 times as much. That's like $200 I get for the article, and then another $200 from her. So I write to thank her, and she sends me another $200 and invites me to tea.
Wow.
So I go to see her, and she gives me tea and another $200, right? These are $50 bills.
Wow.
But yeah, people are wonderful, right, and so on. So it looks like I'm on my way to being a journalist, but then I go into, we go out to Long Beach, and it's wonderful out there. But to get there, you got to go over Vancouver Island, and you're up there, as it feels like you're as high as Switzerland at one point. And we're hitchhiking, we're in a camper, and you're looking down, and you see the coast down there. It's down 3,000 or 4,000 meters, man. I mean, you're way up there. And then we get over to the beach, and they're living under logs. You just dig out one of these huge tank car logs, grab a shovel, and you dig under that. It's perfectly safe. And you dig a cave, and now you got a place to live. And everybody's got beautiful suntans to here. Because it's like Scotland. It's the straight cold wind off the Pacific, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's happy, and no one runs around without a sweater on there. And all tan, like they look like Native Americans with they're red from the sun, but that's it. So we got a little cabin and stayed there. It was very nice. And but when I get back, I get an offer of a job up at Simon Fraser University. And it's strange. You get on a bus in Vancouver, it's summer, and you get off, and it's winter. You go straight up a mountain, man, for about an hour, right? You get off, you go, whoa, and there's this monolithic building, sort of inverted pyramid, standing on stilts at the top of this mountain. And that's the University Simon Fraser. So I go in, they're very nice and very glad to see me. First the guy takes me to the faculty lounge, only they had a student strike and they occupied the faculty lounge and they've never left. So it's now everyone's lounge, right? Excuse me. Then he shows me this room in the basement, about half as big as this room. And there's 12 people seated in there working. He says, and there's your seat over there, right? No window, right? It's a windowless room in the basement. And the computers are always in the basement, He says, there, you work right there. And they offered me something like $1,000 a week, an incredible amount of money in those days, like $3,000 or $4,000 a week now, right? So of course I'm my own worst enemy. So I said, no way, I didn't come out to the great Northwest, to be in a hole in the basement. Thanks a lot. And I left. See, and I'm down to $5 basically. And John says to me, Peter was playing a lot of pool. There was a little pool hall in Kitsilano. We were spending a lot of time playing pool. And John showed up. And he said, can you build a cabin? I said, sure, I can build a cabin. And next thing you know, I'm over on his island building a cabin for him. But before that, Joe Reeve, the guy who'd had the place on Prince Arthur, he'd put me on to a press agent in Vancouver who had an office downtown with 2 girls running the office. And these girls were like, my pals after a while. I go in, have coffee, say hello to them, bring them a flower, whatever. And I found in the newspaper an ad looking for actors, right? And I said to the girls, I'm going to get a job being an actor, you know that? They said, what do you mean? I said, look here, here's an audition. I know they're going to hire me, right? And put me in this show. So I go in, and I'm so relaxed, I'm so sure I'm going to get I'm living in a hippie house. They took me in down there. For some reason, Barb wasn't around. And I said, I'm going to get myself a job in this play. And I was so relaxed, I went in and cut-offs, shorts and, hadn't shaved or probably bathed in a week or whatever. I went in, I read for the part. They said, come back tomorrow and, please study up a little bit on the part. I didn't study up for anything. I came in the next day and I did another reading. I was so sure I was going to get the part. And then they said to me, don't call us, we'll call you. Well, that's in the movie. That means you don't get the job, right? So I go back to my little boarding house, and John shows up and says, can you build a cabin? I said, you betcha, and off we go to build a cabin. Me and my girlfriend Barbara and John off in his little car. It's an all-day trip, and off we go for a week. And then when we get back to Vancouver the next time, the people at my house are saying, where were you, man? They've been looking for you for a week, 2 weeks. They want to put you in this play, right? And the play ran 6 months in Vancouver, so I'd have been a professional actor. And instead I was out on the island building a log cabin, right? So I ran over and saw the producer, and he said, yeah, we'd love to have you, but we signed someone else now. So have a good time on your island, and that was that, right? See? Negative thought, the power of negative thinking, right? I had a job and I walked out on it. So not so clever.